Welcome to The Queen's Lair, a lifestyle podcast. Get inspired by our latest tips and information about small business, entrepreneurship, natural hair, travel, food, and even relationships. Stay tuned for another great episode. I am your host, Renee Patrice. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into my podcast once again. Thank you so much for your feedback on my last episode. It was kind of a rant, and I got a lot of messages. So every now and then, you just have to get stuff off the chest. And that is what I did. Y'all know I'm very transparent. I just speak what's on my mind. I'm not the type of person to, like embarrass people and put people out there or whatever. That's not my goal in life. But sometimes when you have to just speak on certain subjects, they just need to be spoken on, and people need to understand, and, like the saying says, I said what I said. And I'm sure that people will take it personally or may take offense to it or whatever. And honestly, at this stage in my life, I'm like, why hold in all of the angst that you may have over a particular subject? At this stage of the game, just pull people to the side and just speak to them and be like, hey, if you're cool with them, and they understand, and they are going to be an adult, they will absolutely understand why you are having the conversation with them, because I do truly believe that having a conversation is a way for understanding, and I think that sometimes that's all it takes is a simple, pick up the phone and let's have a conversation, so it was a bit of a rant. I appreciate the notes. A lot of people were like, woo, girl, you was going in. I wasn't really going in. I don't think I was really going in. I think I was just really coming to the realization just how much people are just ungrateful, and sometimes we allow ungrateful people to just keep floating around and just be their ungrateful selves. And sometimes they need to be isolated. They need to be isolated outside of the circle sometimes, because once you let a crack happen, it's just like I would even say this was an example I had, not too long ago in my car. Once you have a crack in the windshield, it just keeps cracking. It keeps moving, and it keeps seeping deeper and deeper into what you have going on. So I really feel like folks like that have to be kept at a distance. And because they can really infiltrate your entire operation. They can really infiltrate, all the good that you're trying to do. All it takes is that one problem, to just spoil the whole entire, situation. So, like I said, I just wanted to, make my opinion known on that. And I wanted to get into another subject matter today, because this was a question that I actually got about podcasting. So this is yet another repertoire that I have added to the Onyx Queen Media suite of services. It's actually services that I already do, but I never have really put it out there formally. So I'm probably going to post something up about it soon. But yes, I do produce other podcasts other than my own. Go figure. So yes, I do produce podcasts. I edit audio and video as well. There's a couple of podcasts out there that I do stuff for, and they are video based. I know people are kind of weird about podcasts. Podcasts really started out as being an audio only, but there are folks who put podcasts out that actually have video with them as well. I had actually thought about making my podcast video, and I'm still considering it. But, I just want to make sure that I have all the right, set up and all that kind of stuff for it. But yeah, podcast can either be audio, which is the traditional route. And then there's also video as well. And I think video podcasts are really great. I think it's great when people have all the mics and they're sitting around the table, or they set up a couple of couches and, people having, laid back conversation. I think that makes for great podcasts, honestly. So yes, I do podcasts. This was a question that I got, do you know about podcasts, how people get started in podcasts? I actually have a whole program that I walk people through. It's a whole program, and you will have an entire podcast and everything at the end of it that you can man yourself. I get you set up on everything. I walk you through the whole process. So that is a service that we do provide. One of the things about podcasting to know is, before you get into it, decide what the genre is going to be. Now, some of the top podcasts out there are true crime podcasts, are really, really huge. If that's your thing, talking about different television shows, more reality style podcasts are definitely a thing. For me, this is a lifestyle podcast and a mix of business as well, because we are geared more towards the small business owners and entrepreneurs, and how all of that works into the personal life and all that kind of stuff. And I do share personal things on here as well. So this podcast definitely covers the lifestyle arena and a little bit kind of like my personal journey into being a small business owner and entrepreneur. So I would probably fall under the society area, kind of in the business area too, kind of overlapping. So society and culture is definitely a big subject area within podcasting. So you have news, you have political, you've got society and culture, you have satire. I don't know how much I listen to satire stuff. I don't listen to satire stuff too much. But if that's your thing, you can get into that. Of course, there's comedy, which I think kind of falls into the same area, very similar area as satire. There's I'm trying to think of all the different things. There's storytelling. There's people that get on their podcast and storytell. I think that's a pretty unique niche to be in, is storytelling on your podcast, where people literally have books that they read on their podcast, which is amazing. Like I said, if that's what you're into, there's ASMR podcasts. I've actually done a couple of ASMR episodes. I'm sorry, it's like a noise in the background. I kind of was this is like real life. I'm like, what's going on? It's early in the morning, so you have to keep the head on a swivel around here. So I guess it's the New York City in me, like, what's going on outside? So anyway, so there's different types of podcasts, but the first thing is to figure out what genre that you fall under. And I would say this, and I will tell you, my English teacher back in high school, and if anybody went to high school, I'm not going to say what high school I went to, but if anybody went to high school with me in Queens, New York, y'all remember Mr. Chiara. Okay, Mr. Chiara said something very profound one day, and I was just like, wow, really never thought of it this way. But Mr. Chiara said, every time we were writing something, and I was always into creative writing, and that was like my thing, and he always said to write about things that you know. Write about things that you are familiar with, because it will be much more authentic. Because you would think that as a storyteller, because that's pretty much what brand managers and PR people are, they're storytellers. They relay the story of a brand. They give you the groundwork of how this brand came to be, came to fruition, that sort of thing, to pitch to different, news outlets to get exposure and coverage for their clients, So you have that storytelling ability. And with my background in journalism, even more so. But I remember Mr. Chiara saying that to us, talk about what you know, write about what you know, because it'll always be more authentic. If you try to write, you can always tell when somebody writes a book or some sort of short story or something that it is a subject matter that they have no clue about. It may be just something that they've done some research on, but they don't really have a personal connection to the material. And sometimes you can read right through that, when people are not connected to the material. That's why I love when people write, autobiographies and, things like that, because I love when people write about their own lives, because it's their experiences, their personal experiences that they are sharing that often resonate with the audience for which they are sharing it with, and it definitely comes off much more authentic. Right now I am reading a few books, actually. I'm reading Professional Troublemaker by Lovey Ajayi. If y'all don't follow her on social media, y'all need to follow Lovey. She is hilarious and so witty and so bright. Love her. I'm also reading Tabitha Brown's book. I am also reading Will Smith's book. So I got 3 books going at the same time, and depending on my mood, I'll tune into each of their books. Lovey's book I'm actually almost done with. This is her second book that I'm reading, and I believe it's also a New York Times bestseller as the first one. And Tabitha Brown, I think she went on to be New York Times bestseller as well, and I think Will Smith did as well. So they're all good. They're all good. Just amazing. And the thing that sticks out about each of those written works is that the story is their personal experiences. You know what I mean? It is what they have learned in life. It is, anecdotal, which I think is great. I love anecdotes that come out of people's personal experiences. Those are my favorite books to read, So I would rather read those type of books rather than the fantasy stories and things like that. Nothing wrong with that, because there's some amazing writers who come up with all of these characters and things in their head and, all that sort of stuff. I mean, who doesn't love Harry Potter? Who doesn't love, all the characters and things that have come up, in the mind of Shonda Rhimes and, people such as that who just write amazing stuff. But I personally prefer people's personal journeys, and how they relate that to life, and it translates in my own podcast, so I always say be authentic. So that's the first thing with your podcast. Be authentic. Talk about what you know. Talk about what you have an expertise in. It'll be much easier for you to resonate with said audience, right? Then what you want to do is you want to find a really great program that you're going to build your podcast in. Now, I have built my podcast in several different places before I settled on Anchor. I do Anchor ads. You will hear Anchor ads, at the beginning of my podcast, and sometimes at the end of my podcast, I actually do ads for them. And Anchor has not failed me at all. And I moved my podcast to Anchor, I want to say maybe 2 years ago. Actually, I think this year makes 3 years total since I moved my podcast. And I don't have not one complaint. And I'm a person that when I edit quickly. I move from thing to thing really quickly because I don't always have a lot of time during the day. You can edit your podcast on your phone. You can edit them on your computer. The quality is great. The sound is great. I mean, you guys know this. You're listening to my podcast right now. And I am actually recording from my phone right now. Sometimes I record from my computer and I try to hear, if I can hear a difference. It really isn't much of a difference. You really can't tell. But yeah, Anchor has been great for me, and absolutely great. So if you are a self-starter and you want to get, crack-a-lackin' with Anchor, you can definitely do that. If you need help with podcast, services, please definitely email me, hello@onyxqueenmedia.com. And yeah, if you have any other questions, definitely let me know. I tell you, our podcasting services are not, super expensive, and they really, we really walk you through the process so that even if you don't have us maintain your podcast down the road, because I do have people that's all they have from me as far as services are concerned, are just podcasting services. They pay a monthly fee, and that takes care of everything for them. We maintain their podcast for them. We edit for them. I would say that the monthly services are probably good for people who have at least a weekly podcast. I do have some people that, they have 2 new episodes a week. I don't have anyone that has daily right now. I think I'm the only one in my circle of podcasters that I'm cool with that's doing a daily podcast right now, because I'm trying to challenge myself to do a daily podcast. But most people that I'm around do, I would say, 2 episodes a week, maybe 3 episodes a week at the most. But weekly, I think, is perfectly fine. I think every now and then, if you do weekly and every now and then you throw in a bonus episode, I think that listeners actually really love that. But yeah, people keep asking me about the podcast stuff. So I am going to formally post about the podcast services so people can see exactly what we offer, and, definitely talk to me about it. My email address again is hello@onyxqueenmedia.com. And you can find me on social media at Onyx Queen Media on all socials, but Instagram is always my most active social. But yes, please keep the questions coming. If you have any other questions on any, branding and marketing stuff, I actually have an episode, actually 2 episodes, one specifically that speaks about all the different points in branding, and then another one that speaks to all the different points in marketing. So if you have any other things that you want me to, give my expertise on, just let me know. Podcasting, I never really thought to do an episode just about that. So I thank the person for, their name slips me at the moment, but they had emailed me and asked me to talk a little bit about podcasting. But yes, be genuine. Make sure that you know the subject matter that you're talking about, and just, make it laid back. It doesn't have to be overly formal. Some of the best podcasts are just literally a podcast. If you look at a podcast as 2 friends talking, and the people who are listening, they're just eavesdropping on the conversation. It's like overhearing somebody's conversation in the next room. That's pretty much what a podcast is. You're listening in to a person sharing their thoughts, or 2 people, or even a group of people, having a conversation on a specific subject matter. I think podcasts are wonderful. And I think it's a great way to share with people, in a different way, and it's kind of weird sometimes when you're recording, especially I was recording my podcast, over the holiday with a house full of people, and people come knocking on the door. Oh, dinner's ready, that kind of thing. It's kind of funny. They have to kind of get used to you, like in work mode and stuff like that. But, just be authentic. I think that's my main thing. Be authentic. And I definitely recommend Anchor. Like I said, if you need help with anything, just email us and we'll get back to you, within a day or 2. And we'll definitely follow up and we can talk more about it. But yes, podcasting, great medium, great way to connect with people, highly recommended. So that's all I have for you today. But again, on social media at Onyx Queen Media. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye. Online savings simplified. Don't search for coupon codes ever again. With one click, Honey's smart shopping assistant will automatically apply discounts to your cart in seconds. Save on all your favorite things. Easily pay less for products you're already buying online. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Join Honey for free. It takes 2 clicks to add Honey to your Chrome, Safari, Firefox, or Opera browser. Find savings in seconds. While you shop, Honey will find working promo codes across the entire internet, and you save instantly. With one click, Honey will apply the best deals to your cart. It's that easy. So what are you waiting for? Get Honey. Download it today. Visit our link, www.tinyurl.com/ONYXHONEY. That's www.tinyurl.com/Onyx Honey. Start saving right now.